Hey guys, this is Melissa Bachman. Are you ready to stop spooking deer before it's even time to hunt them? Then you need the new Flex S Dark cellular trail camera from SpyPoint. With a no-glow flash option, long-lasting solar power, and a ton of settings that can be changed anytime through the SpyPoint app, there are no more excuses for letting your deer get wise before the season even starts. So check it out for yourself and see why the SpyPoint Flex S Dark is the unstoppable and undetectable scouting tool you need for your next hunt.
Join us at a Friends of NRA event where freedom, fun, and firearms come together like nowhere else. With more than 600 events held across the country, there's always one happening near you. From exciting games to exclusive auctions featuring one-of-a-kind firearms and gear you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're a lifelong hunter, a competitive shooter, or simply passionate about defending freedom, there is a seat for you. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you and get ready for a night you won't forget.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Huntworth. Huntworth gear for all types of weather, all types of terrain, all types of budgets. It's clothing that just works. Check them out at huntworthgear.com. And I can tell you that the new Silent X cold weather, that Berber, that cold weather stealth, is pretty awesome. I've been wearing that the last couple days. Here we've had 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, and that heat boost, it isn't real bulky, and it blocks the wind real well. I've been wearing that the jacket with that Durham hoodie and basically just one of the thin base layers, and it's been phenomenal. And I like what they've done with that jacket where you can zip the hood off, so it's not a hood on a hood on a hood. I do really like that. Haven't had to wear the bibs yet. The bibs, one thing that I do like about that is they do have the pockets that are on the front, on the tops of your thighs instead of on the side, so that if you were sitting in a tree stand or when you're sitting in your saddle, everything is accessible right there in front of you. So definitely go check that out. And then they do have their merino hat and fingerless gloves on there as well. And right now until it looks like November 2nd, they have 25% off everything on the website. So get over there, check that stuff out. And that stuff is great, and right now is just an incredible time to be in the woods. I was out today, and I'm off for a few days trying to capitalize on what's going on here. Best time of the year to be in the woods, and to drop my daughter off at school, try to sneak into the woods real quick for kind of like one of those mid-morning sits. And there's a buck locked down with a doe, another buck dogging them. They're running each other around. There's bucks running around in the field, and needless to say, I was a little bit too late for all that sort of action. But tomorrow, I'm gonna get in there and try and make something happen. So, but get out in the woods. Our own one of the roamers, Brad, he shot himself a nice little 8-point today. And we are still logging all of our harvest there at the Bowhunter Chronicles Opportunist page. You can check that out on Facebook. So far, we've had 40 animals logged. I don't have the breakdown as far as like bucks and does, but they're still coming in. Actually, Jake, he shot himself a nice buck the other night too. I think that's been after the last podcast, so we're racking them up for the Roam crew. Both of those on video, so pretty awesome. A couple other guys, Patreons, Michael Elrod, he shot a buck and a doe down in Texas. William Ritchie, he spent more time driving to Iowa than he did hunting in Iowa. Shot a buck there. It took him, I think, 3 hours to kill a buck in Iowa. And yeah, just a great time to be in the woods. So if you got some PTO, if you got time to be in the woods, if you can find a couple hours to get out there, definitely do that. Been using the new Latitude Method 3. Not a 2-panel guy, but really enjoying that. Really, really comfortable. I've probably had, I don't know, 15, 20 sits in it now, and it's growing on me. I'm starting to really enjoy that. So if you're in the market for a new saddle, if you've been looking at 2 panels, if you're looking for a little bit more comfort, check that out, as well as some of the stuff from Genesis 3D using that sub 1 camera arm. Austin actually gave me his, I've been using the older version, and Austin gave me his personal one to try out, the 3-arm one. And I've been using that one for the last couple days, and pretty neat, like the roller cam buckle on it. It's a little bit easier than the boat buckle, and quieter. Pretty nice. I've been enjoying that. And the mount for the gear strap for the Insta360 is just the easiest thing. Like, for anybody who wants to film, wants a second angle, I'm the biggest proponent for the Insta360. Even if you're not going to run any other camera, it's the easiest thing. One button, boom, you're done. You're filming. It's everything you wish the GoPro would be. So definitely check that out. But if you do have an Insta360, Genesis 3D has that amazing thing for your gear strap to use the Insta360 on. So definitely check that out. But today's podcast with Greg Litzinger, brand new baby, very little time to hunt, got out and was able to kill a very, very nice buck out in New Jersey. And we talk about kind of how he did it, kind of scouted his way in on like some historical stuff, talk about using old trail cam pictures based on the wind, and talk about like scrapes and security cover, all stuff that's relevant as you're getting into the woods right now. So this one, it's always fun talking to Greg. He's a riot. Wealth of knowledge, great dude. I know you guys are going to enjoy this one. As always, thanks for listening. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. And today I've got my good friend on here, Mr. Greg Litzinger, who just, I believe, if I'm going to quote him correctly, just shot a jumbo. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I don't even know where that came from. Like, looking back at the video, I'm like, what was that? I don't remember doing that. And I'm like, oh my God, I was like, that's awesome. But what was that? I was like, I don't think I've ever done this motion my entire life. And I'm like, what? All right, cool. Just go with it, I guess.
Well, I can think of like all the times that you've ever like joked around and been like, I don't know what to do with my hands. What do I do with my hands? And then you sent me that, like you made a meme of yourself or like a GIF or whatever. And it was like jumbo. And I was like, did he AI this or what? Oh, it's great.
Yeah. My wife was like, no. I'm like, it's just, I've that adrenaline dump from shooting, especially mature whitetail, in that environment where those things are. I've done a lot of things. I've chased a lot of dragons, both naturally and chemically, and nothing compares to shooting a big buck. Nothing. Jumping out of an airplane, nope. Skydiving, and working on roller coasters, nope. Cliff jump, 80-foot cliff jumps, nope. Not even close. Shooting a big whitetail is it, man. It don't get no better.
So we'll get to that here in a minute, but I kind of want to go like through getting there, because I think what's been really fun and what, like reading your little like write up about how you did it. I want to talk about like scrapes and security cover, like as that's kind of like the thing right now is like scrapes and like the pre-rutting activity, all that. But like back when I first met you, it was a way different like thing. Like Greg was the guy who was like, I hate the rut. I hate this time of year. These deer are just running around like crazy. Like I want to do early season. I want to sneak in. I want to kill them in their bedroom. I want to do all this stuff. And now, oh, how things have changed,
Well, it's still the,
you know?
it's still, well,
So
getting to the story, it's still the same. Just, you know, I was still inside bedding, still right outside, bedding. I just didn't realize I was like pretty much I was set up. Like he could probably almost see or hear me if I was noisy, because at 4:15 I hear this pure chaos, and I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, found like limbs falling. I thought a tree was falling. This deer was rubbing like every 5 trees, just going to town. I mean, big trees, grunting, groaning. And then like I got a little bit of footage of it. You can see he's kind of like shaking his tree, he's scraping, like he was just fired up. And that was, at 4:15. So he wasn't that. I was like in it, like the perfect spot. Like an observer, like such a great area and hit it just right. If you catch, like I just caught it just right. I used to hunt there, many years. And there's a small little window. It's either like now or closer to like Halloween. There's like a 3-4 day window where if you're there, hunt 2 or 3 days in a row, you're going to see a big buck, or might not be in shooting range, but you're going to see one because it's just flat terrain and years of hunting it. I know there's just little seams where it's just little pockets of security cover. And I'm like, all right, historically, there's a bunch of scrapes here. Like sneaking my way in, it's like there's a scrape, and usually it's tore up. Not much. Look around. There's a tree standing right over here. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to move to the next little layer where I thought used to be some activity. And nothing there. And then I moved to like the final layer, and the swamp is like right there. Like I can almost see the swamp, and just it got really thick growing up. I'm like, this is it. Like you can see that little bit of footage I sent you. Like it is thick in there. You just got little pockets of open, and looking with my binos, like I'm just looking, and I can just see like scrapes, like 50 yards out. So I'm looking for trees, and it's like there's no trees. Like, I mean, I was 3 sticks up, and I had like the profile, like the XL platform. Dude, I was on like a 6-inch oak tree. It was like this big, and I was like, 16 feet up. Like it's super windy, and like I'm just rocking back and forth. I'm like, hey, all right, like because that's all there was. There was like, I guess it'd be like pole stand timber, not very big, but it's all white oaks. So I'm like, well, I guess this is it, and I got in one with a little bit of cover, and I was like, man, I felt naked because I'm like, just like I'm 18 feet up, like I feel like they can see me, but it's so thick they can't really see you, and it's like it's super quiet. Instead it was kind of windy. Man, that wind was just going back and forth, and I'm going, I don't know, man. I was like, this is a observation. I'm watching this flat. I was like, this would be an observation sit regardless, just because the wind. It was like, yeah, or it's going to be blowing west. And I'm pulling out the milkweed. It's like west, and then I'm watching just go straight east. And I'm like, 3 minutes later, it's like it's coming back, and I'm like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. I kept pulling it out. It's going here, there, up, down, and I'm like, man, I don't know. It's like this is like if I see one, it'll be a miracle, because it's like, historically speaking, even this time of year, the wind's shifting that much. These older bucks, I don't rut or not, like they're just very cautious movers. And this buck just, I guess, was on a mission, man. I don't know. He was swelled up. I mean, his neck makes the rack look small. Like some of the pictures, they don't do justice to how big and how dense his rack is. I mean, he was all rutted up ready. Like his neck was just massive. And I seen him just tearing trees up. And it came in, and I'm like, almost like instant panic mode, because, I mean, he's coming right at me. And it's like, oh my God, he's coming right to me. So it's like, I'm trying to like film him, trying to get my bow off the hook, and it's like, and I got the camera, and I didn't really think about it. Like, I moved the camera arm, and I'm looking at the camera arm, and like my cam, I'm like, I take this bow off, it's going to tink on the camera arm. So I'm like trying to like lift the bow up and like swing the camera arm back, and I'm like watching like my camera just like come right off, and I didn't squeak or anything, so ting any metal. I'm like, oh goodness. And at this point, like my heart, I'm just beating because he's moving fast, and I'm like, he wants to get wherever he's going. He's not stopping. He's just rubbing, scraping like every 10 yards. And I'm like, I got two little lanes to shoot, and I'm like, finally get the bow, get ready. I'm trying to swing it in, and like I go to range, and my release hits the rangefinder. It's like tink, and I'm like, it's like, I was like, because it's like it's happening so fast. I was like, I think that tree is 27. Yes, and I was like, I thought he was going to go past the tree, this big pine tree. So I'm kind of set up on the pine tree, and I didn't really see like filming it, but my fluid head has that auto leveler in it. So like I'm on the deer, like where I thought he would be. Well, by the time a shot comes in, it's just like it pulls back a little bit. So all you can see is him rubbing a tree. Like I'm at full draw, and like he's like a hard quarter away, and all I could see like in the viewfinder is just the tree shake. And I'm like, well, I'm shooting this deer. I don't care. I was like, screw that camera. And I mean, it was a hard quartering shot, but I mean, the joys of shooting a heavier arrow with a little bit of weight. It's nice knowing that I'm going to drive that arrow up in there, and when the arrow hit its mark, I was a little right. I was probably like 2 inches further back than I wanted to, but the arrow drove all the way in, almost up to the fletchings. He ran off, and he stops, and you can hear like in the audio, like he must have fell and got back up, and I didn't really see that because it took off and like it was really windy, and like I kind of panned the camera back on him, and he's standing there, he's looking. I'm trying to get another arrow out of my quiver. And for some reason, it never, whenever you get your arrow to come out quickly, and like I got the tight spot, like in that one, pretty much it just pops right out. Fuck no, man. That thing would not come out of light. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like it won't come out. And he's standing at like 45 yards broadside. And I'm like, I need to get another arrow in him. And of course, I didn't get it out. And then he takes off. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, is that good or bad? So, and I spun the camera around, and the camera caught him on the ground, flopping around. I don't look at the footage. I couldn't see it because I just got the camera there. Like I'm leaning back in the saddle, like looking back, and I'm like, I'm expecting to run past these big groups of trees, and I'm like, where'd he go? I was like, because it's either he was going left and it made a hard right and went straight away from me with the trees. So I was like, but he was like moving pretty good like that way. And I'm looking, I'm like, man, I don't see him. I'm like, I loosen up on the tether, I'm leaning back. I'm like basically falling off the platform, and I could see green knock. And I was like, ah. So I'm like trying to glass. I'm looking at the knock, and all of a sudden I see antler. I was like, oh my God, he's still there. And I could have swore I seen him like flopping around. I'm like, he's dead. I was like, no, he can't be. And it's like, is he dead? So I sat there until dark. I shot him at, right before 4:30. It's like 4:27 or something. I don't know. So, but climbing down, I left everything up in the tree. I was like, I lowered my bow down. I was like, I'm just backing out. My buddies were waiting for me at the truck, and I'm climbing down. I get like on the second step, look over, I can see my knock. And I was like, and it's like right before gray light, so I pull my binders up, and I'm looking, and I'm like, is that just my arrow? Because it's like tall brush, and all of a sudden I tighten up the magnification a little bit, clear it up, and sure enough, I can just see the one side sticking up. And I was like climbing down, like it was great, because I'm like, oh my God, he ran 50 yards, from the point of impact to where he fell, maybe 55 yards. And then like instead of gutting him, it got my. I'll probably post a picture at some point in time, but the broadhead went up and just sliced the backside of the heart with a little slice. Little blade cut the heart. So base of the arrow went all the way in, and then like backed out a little bit, because when I found him, like from him flopping around, it pushed the arrow out. Like I already had like that much of the arrow sticking in the deer, but I'm like, because I felt like on impact, like I was all the way up in the fletchings. Like it really was like, man, I buried that thing in there. It's like, I'm good. That deer's dead. But then when he started running again, I got on the footage, the arrow is like out. So I think when he fell the first time, like the arrow started working itself out a little bit. And then when he was flopping around in the dirt there, I think it pushed it out very far. But walking up, like, how the hell did this deer die? Because it's that much arrow in the deer. But like gutting it, there was it's just a little slice up in the heart. And I'm like, oh, I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes, man.
And so what did that like mean to you? Because the last couple of years have been pretty, you know,
Awful.
I don't.
You can say awful.
No, well, yeah, but I mean, well, it's not that. Like, I feel like, me and you and a lot of people, that are close to you have like got to talk about it, but
Yep.
you didn't really get to talk about like any of the stuff that was going on with you because of like, what was going on with work and all the
Yeah.
stuff and, hunting and
Yeah.
whatever, we talked a little bit about you, um, shooting with a mouth tab and all that stuff. And, it was really difficult for you. So it was very trying like the last couple of years. And I think, the last time we talked about it, you were talking about, kind of feeling a bit like revitalized, going back to some of these old spots where you used to hunt and stuff like that. So that's what I thought was pretty cool about this one, was going back to a spot that you used to hunt just kind of on a whim,
Yep.
and then
It
with
was,
everything that you've got going on right now,
it was weird, like, because I was supposed to go hunting that morning, but Fletcher was up all night. Like, and Monica's, I mean, he's only 10 days old at that time, he was a baby. And I'm like, I didn't really hunt at all in October. I think I went out once, so getting ready for a baby, and we had tree work getting done and like some housework. So it's like, I didn't really haven't been in the woods checking cameras or anything. So it's like, I've been like disconnected from the whitetail woods. And I told Monica, I was like, I need to get in the woods. She goes, all right, you can go in the morning. And he was up just all night. Like, I felt bad. I was like, I can't go out. Like, she's exhausted. I was like, I got to get the kids ready for school, get Annette ready for school. So sitting there throughout the day, I was like, and Monica was like, just go hunting tonight. I was like, nah, we got field hockey and that's the last game, this and that. And then I didn't realize it, but I guess she picked him up from the school bus. And Annette comes home. She's like, Dad, you're going hunting tonight? Kill a big buck for me. And I was like, I'm going hunting tonight? Like, so I was like, yeah, I'm going hunting tonight. Like, I wasn't planning on going hunting. So it's like, I pull up, the software, and I'm just looking at it. I was like, and the wind's just like awful for every spot that I feel like, from historically speaking, like I've been running cameras and spending time in. I'm like, the wind is dead west, which is just awful. Like the good morning spots because you can sneak in, but trying to get in there in the evening, it's like your scent's blown right to them. So I'm like, I'm looking, and I'm not hunting very far, so it's all 10 minutes from my house, 15 minutes from my house. So it's like everything local was just awful. I went to that one flat, and I'm like, I haven't been there in a long time. I was like, historically speaking, like I pulled up trail camera pictures from like 18, 19, 20, 21, and it's like daywalkers. The last week of October, I'm like, this is the spot, man. I was like, I'm gonna kill tonight, and I would have shot it down. I was like, I'm just killing something. I want to experience the woods with my daughter, have a tracking job. That was like the ultimate. She's old enough. I can trust her to walk without falling in the woods. And but like driving there and walking in, I was like, man, I'm killing. I just felt it. I was like, even though it was like an observation type sit, but I was like, I'm killing something tonight. And I'm not just killing time. Like, it's a Hail Mary of a shot. I was like, but I you can just feel it in your bones. It's like, man, it's gonna happen. And like, especially with this bow, 50 yards is 60 yards is it's easy. I mean, not easy, but it's a comfortable shot. I'm like, and that was a big, when I went in there, like, there's big open spots and there's thick spots. So I was like, I'm gonna be just on the edge of thick and open. If I got to shoot into the open, I'm shooting 60 yards, no problem. So I'm like, anything crosses within that 60-yard circle, 120-yard circle, it's getting it. Because I've been shooting well, the bow's tuned good. And I was like, and I'm feeling like tonight is the night. And see, I was only in the tree I did one little intro, and I'm sitting there with the knee pads getting it adjusted. You know, it's the first time I actually brought my knee pads here. I forgot my knee pads every time I'm going out in the woods. And I'm like, had the knee pads. I'm like, man, this is way more comfortable. And I'm like leaning into a tree and and I got the Method 3 on, I'm still like got it like fine tuned pretty good. And I'm like, but with the knee pads, I'm like, man, this thing is even better because I can really like dig into the tree with my knees and not hurt my knees. And I'm just hanging out. I'm like, this is a pretty slick setup. And then a few minutes later, that deer was making noise. It was like bing, bang, boom, and done. So it's like, yeah, and like you were saying earlier, it's going back to your roots and just hunting my way in, scouting, looking for the sign, like historically speaking. But just going in, like the first spot was like, not much happening here. Like the next layer, not much. But get to that third layer, and it's like, it's really thick here. And I was like, and I'm looking for like human sign. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. That's like fresh human sign. I'm like, I didn't see any boot tracks or anything. I'm like, man, this is no tape, and sometimes there used to be like ladder stands back in there, like they're all gone or just not used anymore. I'm like, man, we all have that feeling. It's like, this is the spot. I can just feel it like in my gut. I'm like, I need to be here. Like I would have pushed in a little bit further, like to the next layer on the edge of the swamp if I had to find that sign, but I was just going to work my way in and like no plan. The only plan was to find the freshest sign or get that gut feeling where you're like, man, this is it. And once I hit that in the stomach, and it was like, yeah, this is going to be good. And 30 minutes later or whatever, it's like I got a hammer mature big woods buck on the ground.
And so, you said you had your buddies waiting there at the truck for you and all of that. Like, so when did because you had your daughter come out there and all this stuff. When did that all happen? So how did that all play out?
I was like, my buddy, I called him, and so my daughter had a field hockey game. I called him. I was like, yeah, he's going to be, if we find him, I want to bring a net out because I wasn't even really going to. I didn't expect him to be like. I thought I seen him fall. Like I'm looking at it, like man, he had to go down. But you don't know. Like big deer, they do some crazy things sometimes. So it's like I know it's like hard quartering. I'm like, I felt really good about the shot, but not knowing. So I'm like, but climbing down, when I seen him, I texted my buddy. I was like, pick up a net. I was like, he's down. It's like, and my buddy, he's driving. He almost crashed the truck. He's like, he's down. I was like, dude, he's down. Because I sent him the picture of the deer running away, when I was with the camera. And he was like, that thing's a monster. I was like, yeah, dude. And he's down. Like I'm looking at him right now. So he went and got a net, and they're all waiting at the truck for me. And that was so pumped. Because, I mean, I don't hunt close to a truck. Like, it's a good clip to get there. Like, you got to cross the swamp. Like, I had to carry a net across the swamp. I got, Annette got a couple of chiggers on her. I got chiggers all over my arm because she's like walking in the low brush. She's like, I got to carry you. Well, I end up picking her up. I had like a t-shirt on. Well, my whole arm here is just covered in chiggers because they must have been on her, she only got one or two, but I got like 80 on my arm here. I'm glad I got them instead of her, but going across swamp, she had her own little flashlight, and I had like the lighted knocks where my tree was. So I left everything in the tree, and we had another lighted knock for the direction of the deer and the arrow that was still in the deer. I told Annette, I was like, all right, the first light, she goes, Daddy, I see your arrow. I was like, that's where I was hunting. She's like, well, where's the deer? I was like, we got to find some blood. We got to, and like knowing that the deer's down, we were like, so I kind of like, I put like arrows in like a little bit of circles. Like, look for the arrows. Like, start looking on the ground for blood. I was like, maybe we'll see mother. I was like, the other arrow that I shot deer with was green. So I made it go. We went up around some brush. She really couldn't see the knock. And I'm like, look on the ground, and I pull out the camera and I start filming the net. My buddy's filming me, filming the net. And she's going up. She walks up. She's like, Daddy, I see your knock. Like, she goes up. It's all like muffled, but she goes up. She's like, and like, I heard it, because, but it didn't really pick up on the audio. She's like, "Hey, there's a deer right there." And then she goes up and she's like, "That's a buck." And she goes up and like, she pets it. She goes down, she puts her hand, like she strokes, kind of like we all do, go up, you almost like, pet the hair, stroke the deer there. And she looks back and she says, "It's a big buck." And she goes trying to fix his head up. It's all like rigor mortis. She's like grunting, like the thing's not even moving, and like, I didn't really see it. I just seen it, from the tree. I was like, I didn't really walk up on it. So it's like walking up on it was like, holy, it's like, it's a big body deer, and like looking at the arrow sticking out, you're like, man, that killed that deer? It's like, because I mean, 3/4 of the arrow sticking out of the deer, but it just worked its way out. But yeah, Annette was so pumped. And she's like, "Dad, it's stinky." The tarsal glands were kicking, man. Like they were, I mean, and it's like coming up through the guts too. So it's like it was stinking on the guts. But it was hard to try to. We couldn't really. That deer was frozen, like rigor mortis, really bad. We could not get his legs to roll him around and get him in better position for pictures. Like the pictures, it was like, well, this is what he's giving us, and his head was so heavy. Like some of the pictures that I got, it's like, I mean, you can see like straight pain in my eye because I'm trying not to long arm him. So I'm like, I got my like, I'm trying to use like one arm, and I'm like, stick to the picture. Like he was so heavy, and I'm like, so all the pictures, I just look terrible. Like I'm like just trying not, like I'm like trying to. It's like I think I'm smiling, but it's like it's just a straight like, because I'm like I could not hold him up. I'm like, I don't know, but Annette was in there a couple times trying to lift him up. It was great. And we got it, and she's like, "Oh my God, Dad." And like, she's like, "Look at his penis, Dad." And it's like, she's all giggling. She's like, "Are you going to cut that off?" I was like, "Never going to leave that." I was like, "Well," I was like, doesn't do anything. I was like, "We'll save the meat if we leave that there. You're not opening that meat up, to dirt and everything else." I was like, we'll leave that. I'll just punch a small little hole. And, and my buddy's like, "Yeah, I got a knife." Man, a fucking knife was so dull, dude. I was like, I thought this was a knife. And I'm like, I'm just like trying to like puncture the hide. And I'm like, I could have brought my own gear, man. Like I literally have it at the truck. I was like, this piece of shit knife. And it's like a little knife. It's like this big. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing, dude? But like Annette was, you got kids. They ask like the weirdest questions. She's like, "Dad, what's that?" I was like, "Well, that's its guts." And then she's like, "What?" And she's like looking at the guts. I was like, "It's full of acorns, And we put rubber gloves on her, and like she's going like through the guts and stuff like that. She's like, "It's so stinky, but look, Dad, I got blood all over me." I'm like, "All right, just don't." And like, she had school clothes, like a school shirt on. I was like, "Please don't get on your shirt. Your mom will kill me." I was like, "That's like a really nice shirt." I was like, "I don't know why she put you in that shirt." I was like, "Please do not get bloody." I was like, "I'll never hear the end of it." But yeah, it was just cool experiencing that with her, like just dragging that deer out, and like she's going across. And the second time going across swamp, she went by herself. She's got little rubber boots on, and she's like sinking in. She fell a few times. I'm like, yeah. But then what made it all, tie in together? She's like, "Daddy, I want to be a deer hunter like you and kill big bucks." It's like I consider myself a tough guy, very manly, I guess you go. I mean, when it comes to Annette, we says certain things. I'm fucking weak, dude. I about start bawling my eyes out in the woods, and I'm like, "Man, Annette, you sure know how to." Whew. Well, she's like, "What's wrong, Dad?" I was like, "Nothing. You just make Daddy happy." But I'm like, man, I am so weak when it comes to my daughter. Like, I just can't help myself. I was like, I'm just a bitch, man. Yep, just a bitch.
And that was her first track and
Yep, first everything. Because I've shot deer.
recovery, all that stuff.
Yeah, the last, all 3 deer I shot last year. Shot the one in the morning. It was early season. She was in school, and the other 2 were at night. And she's in bed because they were like relatively early. So by the time I get home, like they're sleeping. So it's like, and she's seen deer before, but never like gone out into the woods, and like she says she wants, like, I bought 2 pop-up blinds I'm gonna put in the woods, and we're gonna go out. Like, my buddy's got we can go behind his son's house, and his son baits off and on. I figure I'll go out there, and put a blind up and throw some, pumpkins or some corn out there and take her out so she can just experience. Like, I don't know if I'll shoot anything, but I think she will probably be tickled to death. I got about the tied see-through blinds, like on like 3 sides, so she can like see everything. You can't really see in. So I got 2 blinds I'm gonna probably put out this weekend, so we can go out when it's a little colder, and I think she's shown interest lately about going in the woods. I really haven't pushed her. It's not like, hey, you want to go? Like, and she's like, more and more, it's becoming organically like she wants to go. Because I know, like, I went out in the woods a lot with my dad when I was her age, but I never went hunting with my dad till I was 14. Like, my dad never took me out like, hey, son, let's go sit on a log together and go hunting. My dad, probably because I was an idiot, I guess. I don't know. But I didn't go out hunting, or even just like experience a hunt till I was old enough to hunt myself, So it's like I feel that's on track to possibly become a hunter. She's showing more and more interest in it, and seeing that her first track job is a big buck. I think that's what I was really waiting for a track job with her. I didn't want to take her out with a doe. Nothing against does or anything. I wanted her to, that experience to be like, pow, like just like a freight train. And I mean, I think it worked because she definitely, she was talking about it today, about going in the woods and track and, and finding that deer and dragging it out. So I think my plan worked, save the track job, recovery job for a big deer to plant that seed. Not there's anything wrong with going after does. I think bucks might be a little bit more memorable experience because they're so unique, especially like an older buck. They're all different.
Yeah, my daughter'd never be able to go tracking. She'd still be waiting. She'd be she'd be like married and be like, "Oh, I finally shot one, honey." Like, you're ready to go on your first track job.
It was and she was like leading the way, like, because we had like a long cart road, and like my 2 buddies like, dude, and like, my good buddy Tony, he was like, you are so patient with her, because Annette just asked so many questions. He's like, you are like the most patient man I've ever met when it comes to that daughter. I was like, well, she asked a lot of questions, man. I think after a while, you just gotta like, yeah, yep, because she'll just go off tangent. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Where are we going with this and that? Like, I'm kind of like, it's like she's like bing bang all over the place, and I'm like, what? What are we talking about again? And she's all, what about this, Dad? I'm like, that sounds great. Let's do it. I don't even know what she's talking about half the time because she's like just motor mouthing, and I'm like, and then like we're walking through the woods, and like she's the eye shine, all the tacks, because that piece of woods is loaded with eye shine, and she's like, Dad, look, they're clues. I was like, no, there's people way into the woods. She's like, do you use them? I'm like, sometimes, but not really. She goes, they're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, people don't want to get lost. She goes, yeah, it can be kind of dangerous out here in the dark. Look, if I turn my light off, it gets really dark. I was like, yeah. I was like, without a flashlight, it can be a little scary out here. She's like, are you ever scared? I'm like, sometimes, but since you're here, I think I'm gonna be pretty good since you're here. She's like, I'll protect you, Dad. I'm like, I know you will, kid. I know you will.
Just if you forget your oar, the canoe, salt marsh.
And it was like,
that could be pretty scary.
Like, what was it? Yesterday, my buddy was down one of my spots in the salt marsh because he's like, oh, you're tagged out. So first I was like, yeah, you hunting? I gave him some spots. I was like, I want him to kill. And he checked some of my cameras. And the last 2 days, that place was on fire. I was like, anybody that was hunting the last 2 days down there, like, you had to see bucks. Because it was like, I mean, mature bucks were on their feet, like phenomenal. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have been down there because there was some haul. I mean, I shot a really nice buck, but there was some hogs on my camera. So I'm like, damn, that's a big deer. And I get a tag, another tag November 1st. I can go hunting again. Our permit season starts November 1st. It used to
Yeah, it's
start.
weird how that works for you guys.
Yeah, like it used to start like Saturday. It would start Saturday or permit. Now they made the regular season longer because some of the zones don't get a permit because there's lower deer numbers. So I'm assuming they made the seasons longer, you know. But I mean, I'll probably be working come Tuesday. You know, now back to the working world. So I get a couple days to hunt, and that's probably pretty much be it for a while.
Well, you made the most of it. I want to go back to like you walking in there because one of the things that I like struggle with, and I think maybe a lot of guys do too. I think it kind of like kind of hinders us sometimes, like in a situation exactly like you had
Yeah,
the other night, and you were able to capitalize on is sometimes when you're pressed for time, you know, you go to a spot where you end up like hoping. You say, well, I'm just going to go here because it always produced in the past. Like,
yeah,
and you don't necessarily take into consideration maybe not the wind, but like certain circumstances or whatever. And you just go to where it's convenient. Not like maybe not like where you know you should go.
yeah,
Like you said, like none of your other spots, you didn't have anywhere else that was good for the win. So that was just
yeah,
kind of where you ended up. But you ended up scouting your way into like the best
yeah,
area. And I always say, like, I think, and I'm trying to work up to it this year is like try to hunt in state like I hunt out of state,
yeah,
if that makes sense. Because out of
yeah,
state, I'm always just looking for sign. I'm just burning everything down
yeah.
instead of just going to this spot. So like in that situation, like how did you said you just kept like going and moving and moving and moving, but I want to talk about like when you said you got to that area where you could have went further and you were like glassing those scrapes at like 50 yards and started looking for a tree. Like where did you set up specifically, like on those scrapes or whatever? Were you setting up on trails? Were you setting up on like to be able to shoot the scrapes? Like how, like
It's right on.
how did you pick the spot?
I still want it because, like I said, the big flat was like I was just on the edge of it, like I'm right on the edge of like the thick cover, you know. And I felt, you know, just from years past, I know like these I call them seams, but it's like it's a thicket, but it's like a thicket within a thicket. You know, where you get to like, yeah, we got mountain laurel. It's like it's really thick. You can walk through it. Then there's like a really thick, dense patch of mountain laurel where they got other stuff growing in there, little whips and saplings, where it's a little bit more cover. You know, it's like, yeah, that's kind of thick, but a mature buck, you know, he's going to feel safe cruising daylight and on the edge of that really thick stuff. He's still in some good cover, but he's just on the edge. One jump, you know, and he's almost like an impenetrable forest. You know, so it's like just some years of hunting that and just years of hunting deer in general from all over. It's like, you know, would I have hunted that spot a week from now? Probably not. You know, it's like I know this time of year they're just starting to ramp up, but they still have their wits with them. You know, they still have their all right. I'm still not going to break cover unless I have to because that buck. You know, I mean, because I thought he was going to break out, you know, and go into the open thicket. He came out, busted a hard right, and he was staying in that thicket, staying in the thick stuff. He did not break cover once. It was he had some cover all around him, you know, and I had this little window to shoot at, you know, but he still was like, hey, I'm still smart. I'm still going to make good decisions. I'm not going out in that wide open oak flat. You know, I was like, there's plenty of acorns around here, but I can check the perimeter of that oak flat without ever breaking cover, because he was probably going to go down to the swamp, you know, make a left and loop around, just staying in close to the security cover. And, you know, said years of hunting that spot and spots like that in other states. This time of year, they're still not going to be crazy running around. You know, if he had a doe, it'd be a different story, because she would have went into that oak flat, then he probably would have went into that oak flat, you know. But I don't know, it's the more I hunt, the more, yeah, I can shoot 60 yards. I don't know. I think last year, like we were talking about earlier a little bit, like I was limited in my range. So it's like I have to think 20 yards and under, you know, top pin. And this year I've had that same mindset going into a spot. Yeah, I can poke out 60 yards. I'd rather shoot that deer at 15, 20. So it's like I still have that mindset. I'm like, I want to be in really tight, dense cover, especially for mature bucks. Does be a different story. You know, they're a little more wandering. But a mature buck, like he's still, you know, even full blown rutted up bucks, they don't like breaking cover unless they absolutely have to. You know, so it's like in my mind, whenever I set up, it's like, all right, if I was a buck coming through here, would I stay out in this broad open daylight? I was like, would I kind of skirt through this little thick stuff? You know, like, and basically that's what I came up to. It was like this little dense seam inside some thick cover. I'm like, they're going to be bedding in that swamp. I was like, the way the wind's shifting, he's definitely going to be holding tight to cover if something does come out, you know. Shifting winds aren't the best, but if they are going to move, they're going to move in some thick, dense cover just because it's safe. And everything that I thought he was going to do, I mean, he did. He came out of that swamp, stayed just on the edge of that really thick cover, scraping, rubbing. You know, in years past, there'd be like random rubs on those really thick lines of cover. And I pretty much just was sitting on one of those thick lines of cover. It was a lot thicker now. You know, it's probably maybe why I didn't see caliber of bucks I did when I was hunting there, because it was a little more open. Now it's grown up a lot and it's a lot thicker. And that buck just did everything in my mind, like climbing up in that tree. I was like, man, he's going to come right out here. He's going to come this and just be like 25 yards. You know, felt like Johnny Stewart. Yeah, he's going to come through here. And it's like, pow. It's just like, it's just going to work. You know, you don't know why. It's like, this is what's going to happen. Like, I'm talking to myself. Like, I wish I had a cameraman, because I was having like conversations with myself, like climbing up a tree. And I'm like, Harp does this. I'm going to do this here. The wind's shifty. I was like, well, I can shoot out here. I can shoot behind me. I was having a full blown conversation with myself setting up. But I knew, like, once I got set up and like had everything was just perfect. That deer's going to come in. I'm going to grab the bow, camera arms right there, and I'm going to shoot him. And sure as shit, that's exactly how it happened. Except I didn't take for the hard account of him staying in, like, because I had a little bit of cover, little pockets of cover still there, but he stayed right in that line of thick stuff. He got out, it was real open. He was like, nope. And he stayed. He wanted to get back in that cover. Like, he was coming out breaking it, and I don't know, he took 2 steps in that like wide open cover, and he was like, skirt. And I mean, he did a full blown 90. Like, I'm at full draw. Thought he was going to pass his pine tree. And he turned, and I'm like, oh, all right. Like, and I had to like pivot. And I'm like, because he started like walking away. I was like, not today. Like, I'm driving that arrow right up into your chest. And, you know, I've seen him in the tree like this to my peep sight. And I'm like, he's like full. All I got's a butt shot. And then he turned for like a little second to the left. And I'm like, last rib. And I'm just kept telling myself, exit hole. Because you know how you always want to, like, for me, like, I love shooting them tight into the shoulder. But that angle, I'm like, just aim for the exit. And I'm on him, I'm like, aim for the exit. And it just broke. And it was like, I knew I seen the arrow go all up in the fletchings. And then when I seen it, like, I seen the arrow sticking out further, and I'm like, man, what was that? You know, and see him stumbling and the tail flicker. I'm like, oh, he's dead. And sure enough, he was dead.
And so where were those scrapes in relation to the edge of the
right on the edge of the cover? It was like, it's mountain laurel, and they love scraping on the edge of these mountain laurels, especially like certain like 6 foot high, like overhanging branches. And years past, that bush cause I've walked past that bush when it was a lot smaller for years, but this kind of grew up a little bit, and there was a scrape like right on that edge of cover. Like anything that's walking that edge up in is going to work that scrape, or like that place has a predominant northwest wind, and that northwest wind is pretty much blowing right into the bedding, the swamp bedding. So with that westerly wind I was getting, those deer in my mind were like, they're going to have to go up and physically check these scrapes. They're going to have to put their nose, And I said, this time of year, like a lot of bucks will work scrapes over, they'll scent check them, but usually it's a lot of, I'm getting my face in there and I'm leaving my scent around because this is the game that we're playing right now. And I just kind of knew, like you said, seen it. I just felt it. And sure enough, he came right in. I mean, it's just hard to explain. It's like just that gut feeling. Like walking out, I was like, man, I'm killing a deer tonight. And then like seeing going past the first 2 layers, I'm like, I just don't feel it. It's like there's a good sign here, but it's like it's kind of open a little bit. Like I want to go a little bit further, and it's like, all right, sign's get a little bit better, And then like I was going up, and like it's kind of hard to see, like kind of hard to explain, but it's like just like scrub oaks, and like I call them blueberry bushes. I don't know what they are, but it's like this started getting like really really thick, and I'm like, and this is where I need to be, and just in my gut just told me to stop. Like I had like leather boots on, like I didn't have my rubbers, so I'm like, wherever I stop, I'm leaving so much ground sand. If I go any further, something comes behind me, like the jig is up. But I'm like, I feel with the shifting winds, it's like I still put myself in a position I can still see deer. I might not kill them. And I was like, but I got a good view on the flat. And I was like, and I can kind of see this thick stuff to my right. And I'm like, this is where I need to be. Like I'm far enough away from those scrapes. I'm 25 yards, and that deer walked literally right. I mean, I shot him on that scrape. I was looking with my binoculars. So it was like, a lot of just visual and just historically speaking, like that spot blows up this time of year. A lot of big deer come through that flat, and it's like swamp. Like I come through a swamp, big flat, really thick stuff, and like another swamp. And like where I was, it's like a little almost like, it's not flat, like it's maybe like 5 foot elevation. It's almost like a ridge on a mountain, and they just crossed the edge of this little finger, I guess. And I was on like the last edge of that finger, and that's pretty much where he came out. Jumbo.
Yeah, when you say that, when you say that, like that gut feeling, that's one thing that I hate. Because that's the way that like my father-in-law is, like Frank. Mm-hmm. He's like he'll just be walking through the woods and he'll be like, that's a tree, that one right there. And he's like, I don't know why. And he'd done it for years and years and years, and it'd be woods that he's never been in, woods that he's been in for years and years and years, but you just walk in, it could be pitch black, it could be gray light, it could be 4 PM, and he's like, that's a tree.
Yep.
And I think you're right. I think it is like the years in the woods and just being able to kind of see how everything comes together. And what do you think that is outside of this scenario? Like this particular scenario is, you got some history, you've got some things, but I know by the way that you're reacting to this, that this isn't the first time that you've had that feeling and that this has happened.
No,
so what do you think it is?
You're just a student of whitetails and like their movements. Because like, let's be real, a mature buck, they just march to their own drum. They march to a different beat, and I've said it 1,000 times. If you're going out in the woods and you're seeing a bunch of does all the time, or a bunch of young bucks, the odds, especially in heavily hunted areas in like your state, my state, if you're seeing a bunch of dinks all the time, you're probably not going to see a big deer. Like they kind of want to be left alone for the most part. Outside of the rut, in the first, September, they're lonely creatures. So it's like I don't want to put myself in a position to see deer. Like I want to like kill a mature deer. And sometimes, you're walking these spots. You're like, oh man, this flat. It's a lot of droppings. You look at the size of droppings. They're little fawns. Like I'm going to press on. Now I passed a lot of droppings walking in too, but it was just nothing that like caught my attention. Like, oh, there's granted, hot doe would have brought that buck wherever, but I'm like, it's still a little early. Like, I think he's still going to be holding tight to that cover, and like hunting last year, all that success I had last year, same thing, like tight to cover. You walk it in, you're like, man, this is thick. This is where I need to be, like I might sit there one time, like, man, I need to be like 50 yards further. Like I did that last year a bunch of times, like walking in, like, aren't like layers. You got 1, 2, 3, like, layers on the onion or whatever. It's like you peel them back one at a time. It's like walking in, like first layer is like not feeling it. It's too open. There was a tree stand. It wasn't that far away. I was like, it didn't look that old. Like maybe he's hunting it. I'm like, nothing called my attention. It was like, this just looks like the spot most people will hunt. So I'm like, I'm gonna go up to the next spot, and it was like, not much going on there. And then I got up to the third. It was like, this is just everything's meeting up at once. I got getting really close to bedding now. Like I'm a stone's throw away from bedding. Like that I know is bedding. So even if you look at a map, you look at it, it's like there's a creek, and a predominantly a northwest wind goes down there, and thermal's pulling into the bottom. I'm like, that's where they're going to be bedding. It's like if they're bedding, that's where they're going to be in that general vicinity. And just, I don't know, you just get that feeling. I can't explain it. You talk to a lot of good hunters, you can have the best spot in the world, but if you can't feel it in your stomach, it's probably not the spot for that day. Right spot, wrong time.
And that's probably why I hate it, because it's
you can't explain
it. you well, but you can explain it by saying that you can't explain it. Like, and the best hunters is like by feel. It's the frickin' pinball wizard. He plays by the sense of smell. Like it's like you just go in there and you have to look at everything, and it's everything is situational. It's that same old adage, but that's why I think that's what keeps everybody going back, I think.
And two, it's like it's one of those spots where I haven't been there in a while, so the expectations weren't there. I didn't have any cameras, like no intel. It's like when you go into a spot, you got cameras or like intel, you're there regularly. Like I feel like you were saying, like when you go out of state, you hunt more efficiently. Like sometimes like the spots we get, I'm like, that's the tree I need. You go like off season, you hang the saddle or stand or whatever, and you're like, this is where he's gonna come. Like it's very rigid, very structured. It's like I did a video the other day on it, like a couple of days before I killed that buck. Like this spot. I was like 3 years. I've been running cameras in one spot. I was like, I got it narrowed down to one trail. This is the scrape that they're going to hit, because they used to hit down bottom, but somebody's hunting down there saying, push them up in this thick cover. And I got a tree, and I was up there in the saddle, like everything. I spent all this time in that spot for like the last 6 months, just waiting for like this time frame. But it's like so rigid, like that. There's only one tree that'll work in that scenario. So it's like hunting that spot. Yeah, I could get lucky with intuition, but it's so thick and nasty. It's like, and there's not enough cover or not enough sign in there. If you walk past, you're like, but just running cameras, I know they run that little seam. Yeah. So it's like, but I wouldn't know unless I ran cameras there or you hunted there a bunch of times, so it's like my spots that are like really, I hunt a lot. I'm more rigid. I'm less flexible because I know it's like I've been hunting there. I'm running cameras. The data is telling me, historically speaking, they run this area here. So walking in, I I got my trees picked out already. I can kind of throw that intuition off to the side a little bit because I know it's like hunting for 3 years. Like I don't need that intuition because I know like this is the kill tree. Like running cameras and from years sitting there, it's like, all right, I've sat here 3 times this year, and each time I move a little bit further. Like or last year, I'm like, this is the spot now. You know, like the first 2 sits, I got winded. Now I'm in a better tree. I got better entry exit. You know, but when you don't have any of that intel, I feel you're more of a freelance. You're like, fuck it. You know, it's like, what do I got to lose? Because you don't know anything that's going on. So I think you can, and just some years of doing that, like before cameras, like I know what to look for because I've killed a lot of big deer without cameras. You know, there's a lot of guys that might struggle with that because they've relied so heavily on technology where they've never really sharpened that axe before, where it's like, hey, I need to just keep hunting hot signs. So I think in our era, you know, like my age, like I've had to hone skills that maybe newer hunters haven't been able to hone yet because they've had the ability of technology to, you know, help them along and usher them along.
Well, and that's one thing that you brought up that I think is interesting because I say it a lot because for me it's more fun and maybe it's like an excuse or whatever. But you said like not having cameras in there, you know, there was no expectation. But like, how did that make you feel in the moment? Because like, I feel like by not running cameras and not like, it's very much more exciting. And then there's like a whole nother level of kind of like what you were saying, like of like validation of like every time that you're right, like you're like, for me, like trying to be like learn and get better every time. Like, it's like I have that validation of like, I read the sign, I looked at it and I was right. And that like woodsmanship type piece. Whereas your other spot where you said, okay, I break it down and it's all this and all this and all this. And when it works out, it's like, when I talk to a lot of these guys who think that way or do things that way, and they're always like engineers and they just want to like follow these steps to kill a big buck. Like you just do this and this and this and this and this, and then boom, you kill a big deer. And it's like, where's the fun in that? So like, how did it feel? Did it feel differently, like going in kind of blind versus like killing one?
I mean, you see all the deer, like all the deer I've got mounted, not one has been with a trail camera. It's all just hunting. You know, most of them were like killed before I started running cameras. You know, like, so it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, that's what I do. You know, and like, and I like last year we talked, like the success I had last year, same thing. I didn't really use cameras. Like I just went off of my intuition and like, and I set my cameras up this year pretty much for the same thing. Like they're just going to soak and that's it. You know, I'll check them if I'm in the area, but I mean, I run cheap cameras anyway. Like I get a lot of false triggers or no triggers. So it's like, just because something's not on camera, it doesn't mean that buck's not there. You know, so it's like cameras, I still rely on them for like cool intel and, you know, and like it gets a net excited too. I see sure some big bucks or some does or fawns. Like there's an aspect to that, but it's like, and you can start to see a pattern too, you know, like, but, you know, hanging out with Bo and Johnny and, you know, Bo's dad and Mason, all those guys, like they're very good on, not so much Johnny, he's more of a freelancer like me. But like Bo's and dad, they're very methodical with their trail cameras, date, time, pictures. They have all this stuff, and like historically speaking, they're doing all these things. So like I'm taking that approach with my cameras now. It's like I'm a hunter. I'm better freelancing than I am, you know, or not necessarily freelancing, but like knowing like this scrape, I'm gonna set this scrape this on this wind. You know, have the tree already picked out. Like I don't need the camera to tell me a big buck's hitting the scrape because I've seen giant tracks in it. You know, so I'm like, and there's a giant rub nearby. Like I know there's a big buck. I cut a big track. That's all I need. You know, so it's like I'm just using the cameras more as like just data inventory. Historically speaking, a northwest wind, bucks will move through here. So I get a northwest wind, I can sneak in, you know, it's like, or cameras show like, yeah, they move through here, but at 1 in the afternoon. So it's like I'm trying to use cameras more for that information than actually say I need to get a picture of a deer before I go in there and hunt that spot. So like I said, I mean, I know I'm getting pictures of bucks coming through a camera. You know, I got 2 crappy Spy Point micros that they just won't seem to die. So literally, they've been in the woods for like 4 straight years. I just change batteries once a year, and they're still working. So I'm like, but those things are terrible triggers. Like I went out a couple weeks ago, or when I did that one thing, I checked, and I have a Spy Point on there. I put new batteries in it. It didn't pick me up walking in. Battery's still good. It didn't pick me up, nothing. Scrapes are all tore up. And I'm like, well, maybe this camera's nothing. And then like 3 days later, I get like 1,000 pictures from that camera, like just a backlog of pictures. And it's like, oh, there I am. Like, oh, there's a giant buck. So it's like, if you're relying on this, you know, like, because the cell phone service isn't the best there, but I'm like, if you're relying on this camera to tell you like as it's happening, no, you know, it's like, and I got another one, like I walked past it and it didn't pick me up. Like it seemed like the little red light goes on, nothing happened. So it's like, but then again, like a month later, like they'll take pictures for squirrels of every little like motion. So I'm like, cameras are only good, you know, if they pick up a deer, you know, or like the one camera I got, I just get ass shots of deer. It's so slow to trigger speed anymore. It's like, well, there's tarsal glands. That's a buck. You know, I don't know what it is, but it's like, and it's like a wide view lens. You know, it's like it's so slow. It's like I get like 3. I get like this guts, ham, and like a tail. I'm like, well, it's tarsal gland. That's a buck. Don't know what it is. Like it's a big body. Don't know what it is. You know, so it's like cameras. I think I love them, but I rely less on them for direct intel.
And so your next tag is November. What else do you have? Like I mean, you have like a 3-week-old baby. You know, you're going back to work. A lot of times you still hunt PA and all sorts of other things. Like, are you just sticking home this year? And
I bought a Delaware
that's
license because I was going to hunt the opening week because I had windows put in the back of my house, and the company that put the windows, I mean, back of my house, nothing but glass. So I got double hungs. I had all fixed. I had all giant double hungs put in. They put in every window wrong. So that was in like middle of August, and they were like, and I'm like, yeah, all these windows need to be replaced. So I had to like, not necessarily fight with the company, but it was a long thing for them to fix it. Of course, when can they fix it? September 1st. So we're here, and like, I just had to sit there and watch. They were here for like 4 days. I literally just sat and was like, everything they did. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Nope, nope. You know, it's like, and I was like a general contractor, and I just sat there and just watched them for the whole opening week. And that was like going to be my only time frame because I still had to get Fletcher's room ready. I'm like, I can go for like 3 or 4 days, you know, because there's a bunch of other stuff going on. And then I had like the tree work started to get done, like a big cell phone tower, a ham radio tower that had to be taken down. You know, had to redo some of my sump pumps. So I'm like, so I bought a Delaware license, and I went out once and seen bucks. First time hunting Delaware, first piece. Was like the first week of the season or right after the first week. I had seen 4 bucks, one really nice one, and that's been it. That was it. I went one time, so don't know if I'm going to get back down in there because what said, I need to be able to be close to home. Something happens, so it's like, yeah, I can't do any week, a couple days overnights because Monica needs me. I don't want to be that far away from home. And plus I want to see my little man, and I said, if I start working too, so it's like, I'll be Saturday, Sunday hunter,
back to the grind, back down to earth like the rest of us.
and back to being a working peasant. But the hardest part is like my daughter, like Annette, she doesn't want me to go back to work because literally I've been with her almost every day for a year and a half. So it's like we've really got like this connection that, I won't say I'm grateful for my wrist injury, but I'll never be able to have that time ever again. So it's like my wrist injury was a blessing because I've spent pretty much almost every day with my daughter. We've done a lot of cool shit, and it's like I feel bad for my son because I'm never going to be able to have that time. I mean, as much as my daughter, she can be a pain, but it's still my girl, So I'm like, I'll never have that time with my son like that ever again, So I enjoyed every second of not working, but I'm ready to get back to work. I'm ready to be a civilized human being.
You got another wrist?
Yeah, Annette, jump on his hand.
Come on. You know the drill. You know the drill.
Yeah. Grab my strong hand. Yeah. No.
Jumbo.
Yeah. Jumbo.
Well,
the best way, it's like jumbo, and I'm like, and I catch myself going back. I'm like, what was that? Like, what is that? It's like, or like, if you go back on like my YouTube, like my first mountain buck, it was like, that was like a great post-shot reaction. And I'm like, man, I got some good ones, man. Like, fantastic ones. Because I don't remember any of the post-shot, that adrenaline dump. And I'm like, I watched it back like, I don't know, like 15 times in the tree. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, first of all, I did the old Richard Nixon. Like, what is this? Like, I'm not a crook. Like, what? Come on, man. That'd be great. I need a sticker made up like that, like this. Jumbo. Like, that'd be great.
Oh, absolutely. I'll get Joe on that. Or we'll get some shirts made for TAC.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All
right, well.
Well, it was great talking with you, Greg, and congratulations on your new addition to your family. And the deer's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But you got to go track another deer tonight. So
yeah, hopefully. I just seen his text. I'm using my phone right now. I seen his text come across the top. He's like, "You want anything from Wawa?" Yeah, big old buck at the end of this fucking blood trail.
Well, all right, man.
All right, man. Thanks.
We'll talk to you soon, all right? Later.
All right, later.
Thank you.
Later, dude.
From dawn to dusk and every moment in between, Captain Justin Leake and Meredith McCord have an exciting adventure waiting in the water. Catch Chasing the Sun, Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment. Hit the road for fun and heartwarming fishing adventures with the Real American Road Trip.
I just want to hook up one time. I just need to hook up one time.
Catch the Waypoint Original Series every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the Waypoint TV channel. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.
I did get a bite. I have gotten a bite. I did feel it.